Hello Year 8, my name is Miss Smith and I'm here to talk to you today about English language and English literature at GCSE. Now obviously you're watching these presentations today to try and make decisions about what you would like to do. English language and English literature form part of your core curriculum. So really what I want to tell you today is just a little bit about what to expect. So I'll start with English language. Key things that you will be learning. So I've split this up into years 9, 10 and 11, but ultimately we're working towards, once you start with us in year 9, we're working towards that ultimate goal of making sure that you're fully prepared for your GCSEs. So we start off in year 9 with some world literature. We look at some extracts from fiction and we do a bit of imaginative writing. We look at the theme of prejudice, and we look at some non-fiction text from that and do some transactional writing. Transactional writing is things like letter writing, speech writing, article writing, etc. In year 10, we look at the 19th century imagination, so we look at some 19th century fiction with some imaginative writing again, and then we move on to the conflict topic, where we look at non-fiction and transactional writing that's paired. Okay, so we look at extracts that are about the same things. And then we also in year 10 complete your spoken language unit. This is part of the course where you deliver a presentation. And in year 11, so that we're fully prepared, all we are doing for language is revision of everything that you've done before. How you will be assessed. So there's two papers for language. Paper 1, which is an hour and 45 minutes, which is 40% of your final grade, in which you look at 19th century fiction extract with some questions and you do an imaginative writing task. Language paper 2 is 2 hours and 5 minutes. It's worth 60% of your final grade, and you have 2 non-fiction extracts with questions and a non-fiction transactional writing task. So like I said before, it could be a letter, a speech, article, etc. There is a spoken language element, which I mentioned before, which will be a short presentation on a chosen topic. This is nothing to panic about, and you will be given a pass, merit or a distinction, but it is an important part of the submission to the exam board for your final grade. This slide is just sort of letting you know all the different skills that we'll be covering, and I'm not going to talk through all these today, but essentially it's reading and writing. So it's this sort of the things you've been doing since primary school. Okay, moving on to English literature. Now, English literature you've done under the umbrella of English, but when you get to GCSE, it is very much a separate course, although the skills do cross over. So let's start with what you will learn. So again, you will see that in year 9 and year 10, the subject topics marry. So we study them side by side. So for literature, when you're looking at world literature, you will have lots of fiction extracts, but you'll also look at Of Mice and Men. When you look at the prejudice theme, you will look at the Shakespeare text Othello. And when we look at divided society, you'll look at some unseen poetry and an Inspector Calls, which is a play. In year 10, when we're looking at the 19th century imagination, you will look at the novel, the short novel, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which is from the 19th century. When we look at conflict, you'll look at a conflict poetry anthology, which is a collection of poems given to us by the exam board, which we'll study in detail leading up to a comparison question. And for Shakespeare, you will study Macbeth. And as you can see, much like with language, when we get to year 11, it's all revision. So we'll start with a revision of an Inspector Calls, revision of the poetry, revision of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and revision of Macbeth. And you can see some of those texts down the side. And ultimately, this is leading up to your 2 final assessments, which will be 2 examinations. Literature paper 1, which is an hour and 45 minutes, is worth 50%, which you've got a Macbeth question, where you'll have an extract and a whole text question, and a question on an Inspector Calls. That's essentially a drama paper. Literature paper 2, 2 hours and 15 minutes, 50% of your course, of your final grade. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, conflict poetry and the unseen poetry. Now, where I've talked in both courses about how you will be assessed, obviously this is the final examination. Throughout the course, throughout year 9, 10 and 11, you will of course have mini assessments that will be based around these style of questions. So for example, when studying Macbeth in year 10, you will have an extract question and a whole text question as part of your assessment during that term. Okay, moving on then. Now you may ask, I have to do English. What am I going to do with it? Now, obviously, we would like to see as many of you as possible taking up English at A-level. But your English GCSEs, both literature and language, are really important to you, whether you decide to continue them at A-level or not. And I've just put a couple of posters up on here looking at different places English can take you. So there's lots of different areas and career paths, and pretty much, in terms of communication and both written and oral, you'll need language and literature for lots of different career paths. So please ask your English teachers if you're not sure about anything, and this PowerPoint will be available for you to look back at. Thank you very much.